Hello, dear viewers, and welcome today to our series Meaning of Life. In the middle of our brain, there is a small, important thing, which is the pineal gland. And especially now, in this time of transformation, it is one of the elementary building blocks. And today I want to talk about it with my guest, Elisabeth Westermann. Hello, Elisabeth. Hello. Thank you for coming. I'm happy to be here. Me too. The topic of the pineal gland, I think, especially in this time now, is a crucial gland. What do you think? Well, first of all, why is it called the pineal gland? Pineal comes from pine, from the pine tree. And we all know the pine cones. And the pineal gland looks very similar, just very small. And it is here, in the middle of our brain, opposite the pituitary gland, and also cooperates in some way with it. Well, I have to say, I am not a doctor, so when working with the pineal gland, I focus on very specific parts, very specific aspects. The pineal gland has an unbelievably extensive function. It seems to be similarly extensive as the atlas in the transition between the base of the skull and the body. So the pineal gland has a function in different areas of life. I was very surprised when I read about it, so I also just read about it. That's why I can't teach you about it, but you can find a lot of books about it. What I found very interesting, especially in connection with the time we now live in, are above all the aspects of the pineal gland that are important to us for the future into which we want to go. The pineal gland is an organ which is capable of a connection between head intelligence, so the linear thinking, A and B and C and D and E. So, when I've learned lesson 1, I'll learn lesson 2, lesson 3, and so on. And then afterwards I can speak English. This is linear thinking to the complex thinking. So what happens through the heart intelligence? This connection can be made by the pineal gland. And that's what we need. In the time of Descartes, a conscious separation between philosophy and science began. And it was also important. It was interesting. And it was also, if you will, since everything comes from the divine hand, evidently interesting for the divine to try out the separation. This game has gone a bit far. Yes, it's currently reaching its climax. And this separation is now not just between the divine and the human. It is among humans. It is between humans and nature. It's between humans and animals. And it's also within the body. And the pineal gland can bring the connection back. It is the organ that is simply supporting so that the connection is re-established. And that was interrupted to a certain extent by external influences. The pineal gland is too calcified in us humans. It is normal for it to build up limescale to some extent as we get older, and that is apparently a good thing. But this process has become too strong, and then you have to imagine this pine cone is like poured in concrete, and that's what makes it so. It is, of course, exaggerated, but you get the picture. Yes, you get the picture then. Then you can imagine that it is no longer really effective. You can very easily support yourself in this, and that this process doesn't go any further by first making sure to stay away from anything that contains fluoride, be it toothpaste, be it the water. Some of the drinking water is also supplemented with fluoride. Or be it at the dentist when you've had your teeth cleaned, that you simply take care of it, that you stay away from it. Because the problem isn't that little bit of fluoride I'm getting from the water or the little fluoride I just got from my toothpaste. The problem is that the body builds up this fluoride. It is not eliminated. And at some point it reaches a critical point, and then it really starts working against us. And you don't need that. No. Is there any evidence that you can break this wall open again? Yes, that's what the sound codes can do. The sound codes can, because they are simply information given to the body, they are able to get the body to break this open. How it does it eventually? Do you have a very special sound code there? Yes, I have a very special sound code for the pineal gland. I don't know them by heart, unfortunately. I can't sing them to you. But there is the possibility, on the one hand, of removing this calcification from the pineal gland. And we could do it that way, since I'm the one who has redeveloped or rediscovered the sound codes in this life. I can also spontaneously ask for a sound code, which then only works this time. You can't just do that in general. I think that's great, with which we can then work with the pineal gland. But first let me explain a little bit. Well, it's all about the connection. The pineal gland is in here, and we always have the connection pineal gland, third eye, and then we possibly wrongly have the idea the pineal gland would sit here in front, at least. But that's not true. The third eye is here in front, so that is what we used to perceive intuitively: psychic vision, psychic feeling, psychic perception, knowing that something's wrong. So the so-called gut feeling has to do with this too. And there is a direct connection, and from this connection there is the direct connection to the heart intelligence. And our heart is an organ of perception. And it is an organ that has nerve cells. We have a heart nervous system. There is also research on this in academic medicine. It is also a gland, a hormonal gland. Hardly anyone knows this, but there is more recent research on it. And I am not surprised that all of this gets released now, because we urgently need these forces. Yes, we have to, or want to learn again, to distinguish between what is mine and what is not mine, to go my way, to rediscover my own creativity. All of these things, it has to do with the heart intelligence, and that has to do with the pineal gland. And for that we need a well-functioning pineal gland. And then I'm also able to see the truth faster and to see lies faster. Exactly. Okay, then we really have a pineal gland problem in Germany. Then we should take care of it urgently. Yes, it's incredibly important that I'm coming back to myself. And in Germany we had the poets and thinkers who said, it is about independent thinking, Immanuel Kant in the Enlightenment. I don't want to quote all of this now, it'll take me too long, because we are now considering the pineal gland, but that would also be an interesting topic to talk about. How do I get back to independent thinking? The pineal gland plays a major role in this. And then I discover again that I am the creator of my world. Each of us has had the experience of being creative. Yes. And if it was only that you got here and ordered the parking space, what I didn't do this morning. You didn't order the rain either. So if I'd ordered the parking space, and if the car that was in front of me had parked a little further ahead, then I could have just parked myself behind it, and all the drama I got in the middle of the rain when I arrived here would not have happened. Or you've all experienced that you thought of someone and they call the next day. You've already had that experience that you needed a parking space somewhere, or that you really needed this traffic light to be green because you were in a hurry and it worked. That is our creativity. And of course that goes much, much further, and it's important that we get back there. And when the pineal gland starts to work again, it's also a process that it becomes more and more active. Then we can remember these points and develop our creative power again, step by step from there. Like a rose unfolds its petals. So now I can really, it was the same for many mothers. When children got fluoride tablets, and it was said that it was very important. Now you are educating yourself, you research the subject, and then it becomes quite clear that it wasn't that good. Pediatricians are now saying, please don't swallow fluoride. So you notice this process there, but it is taking place. But I don't have to blame myself for doing anything. Blaming is of no use anyway. Exactly, thanks. But can I recover from this again? Yes, so the pineal gland can regenerate. One way is through the sound codes. The effects of a limiting nature are much more diverse. The interfering rays play a very important role here. And there too you can do a lot. So even if you don't work with sound codes, there is nothing that exists on this earth that has no life energy. And if something has life energy, then its basic function would like to be life-promoting. That means if you are dealing with a transmitter or with the router in your apartment, which of course constantly gives a limiting radiation into your system, then it knows that. You can talk to them. Sounds crazy, but you can. Then you have to have a very, a very purified pineal gland with these subjects. You have to think it's possible, only that. That's all it takes. Then they talk to me, then, well, okay, that may not necessarily happen in the beginning, but it's just that you can tell these machines, whatever they are, there is another way. You can also broadcast something beneficial, because they don't know that. And then they turn around and change. Then, of course, you can still give them information on how they could work in a beneficial way. This can be done very well with sound codes, but there are certainly many other ways you could do it. But there are sound codes on my website, for example, for this interference radiation or for the water and so on. Back to the pineal gland. When I start to wake the pineal gland so that it can wake up again, that it can become active again, then I begin to perceive more and more how these synchronicities are there, how I am the creator of my world, or how I am a creator in a negative sense. Oh, that won't work anyway, so you can assume it won't work, and then you experience that more. And then you can learn that you can change that. In addition, the pineal gland plays a very important role in puberty. As you grow up, can you also play sound codes then? No, you don't have to. If the pineal gland works well again, everything will work. So now again, I find that interesting with puberty. I also have 2 teenagers at home. That's why I'm particularly interested in it. What is happening there? It's just that puberty becomes easier because the whole hormonal situation becomes more balanced. The pineal gland has a central role, let's say in the hormone harmony. A doctor can tell you exactly how that is. Do you play sound codes to the pineal gland? Yes, but I've also heard in other interviews with you that the topic of the atlas and the pineal gland also has an important connection. There are also connections because when you work with the pineal gland, you find that there is like a Tao in our body. So a cross without the upwards line. This cross, which is flat at the top and then like this is called a Tao. That means you have a third eye pineal gland, small fontanelle and atlas region, and then you have the connection from here, from the pineal gland down to the heart via the thymus, and then in the lower abdomen to the so-called dantian or dantian. And this connection in the horizontal and vertical This is important so that the system as a whole can function harmoniously. And when the system as a whole can function harmoniously, the body becomes healthy too. Those connections are just very clear. And the atlas plays a major role in this. And that's why it makes sense if you want to work with the pineal gland either for yourself or you want to get treated too. I am now also training people so they can do that, work on the pineal gland. Some are already trained. They become more and more now. Then it makes sense to have the atlas corrected first and then to do that afterwards, because then I will also have a free level in which the whole thing can resonate from back to front, from front to back, because the influx of life energy goes through the atlas or this area, not the atlas itself, the area. That is why Indian philosophy speaks of the mouth of God. So when we are dealing with the pineal gland, we are always dealing with spiritual forces as well. It is no longer just physical. If you're only interested in the physical exclusively, then the atlas correction is the right way. For you first, and then you will see how far this has affected your psyche. And if you are ready to go a step further, and the pineal gland also has a very important physical function. It just came to my mind about puberty, but there are many other aspects to it, so the interaction of all forces in the body is also largely related to the pineal gland, similar to the atlas, that has an essential function through its position. But then there are also a lot of spiritual powers, but that's also what it's about. We want to grow into a new life. We want to create a new world. Above all of these telepathic issues, exactly. Also a topic now that also works better and better. Sometimes I find it totally crazy in this time now, how quickly everything can be created, how well we are already connected. So things are progressing, how we have seen that, and a new joy in life will grow from this heart intelligence. And what the Far Eastern people then call bliss, or enlightenment, ultimately as a final stage, although that is not a final stage either. So these more and more relieved states of being awake, which of course is also being awakened for what is really going on in this world, that is then, in quotes, the dirty side of it, that you should take with you too, because otherwise you somehow walk through the world as an angel, but not as a good angel, because you are no longer have any feet. So the awakening is then easier to manage when the pineal gland becomes active. Then you have a joy because you know that I am the creator of my world, something new is formed, and then I can look at the old things too. Oh, that's how it was, okay, maybe that's why it was so difficult. So I really felt that very strongly when I found out about these things, that some of the things I don't even want to mention now, sometimes they are really horrific. Then I really thought, now I understand why it sometimes felt like I waded through a swamp. Now I know why it was so difficult. And now it's getting easier, it's getting much easier. Yes, you can better accept the truth, I think. In that moment when you are at peace with yourself and you then learn truths from the outside, or how it was actually supposed to be, then you no longer have this inner conflict. Then it can be left that way. Exactly. And I think this inner conflict, we talked about it, there are still many conflicts in society where you really notice some people are unable to see the truth, or don't want to see the truth for whatever reason. It is stuck like an obstacle. Would you also start to directly work with the pineal gland? Absolutely. Are there others? I think it's often is fear. It is about a lot of other things that you can do as well, but the pineal gland is, you could say, the hub. Because when it becomes active again, and you can often see it in front of these buildings, of the mighty ones in this world, there are these pineal gland stone figures. There is also an awareness that they know that when it awakens, then manipulation in this way is no longer possible, and also no longer necessary, because people become self-sufficient, because they can stand up for themselves. And then they can also discover and develop their truth more and more from inside out. And they will be able to express it too, and they'll be able to create a new world. And at some point they also say that that flood of information was all well and good, but that's enough for now. Now I am going into a new future. Now I'm creating a world that I want to live in. And I can tell you, it works. I can tell you a story about it, which I'll tell you briefly now. I wanted a cat. I haven't had a cat for a long time. But I travel a lot, so I had to be able to have it taken care of. When I'm not home, I wanted a Maine Coon. But I didn't want to spend so much money on a cat. And I wanted and I wanted and I wanted, and I made a precise picture for myself, let go of it and completely forgot about it. And what happened? The cat came to me. Did you adopt a street cat? No, not a street cat, but someone wrote to me. If I knew someone for her cat, for her Maine Coon cat, and she would take care of it during vacations. There you go. And so on and so forth. It was perfect. Exactly what I had in mind. Now I have a beautiful Maine Coon cat, and we are very happy together. She with me and I with her. Well, such nice closing words. Thank you, dear Elisabeth, for the great insight. And we hope that the pineal gland will, how do you say, clear up very quickly for many people. Yes, and wake up again, become active again. Is revived, yes. And you can do something for yourself. You'll find a course on the website that you can attend for yourself, to work on it yourself and also get treated. Both are possible. Thank you. Dear viewers, I hope you were able to get something out of this topic of the pineal gland, which is of course a very exciting topic for this time now, and we have already heard what is still in us and what we can still create at the present time, and even more so in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you soon. Bye.